5 in a row for Max Verstappen, who claimed pole position for the Japanese Grand Prix, but he had to work extremely hard for it. From RacingNews365.com, my name is Nick Golding, and I'm joined, as always, by lead editor Ian Parkes to discuss today's biggest talking points. Ian, probably the biggest talking point, Max on pole, we predicted that correctly, but Sergio Perez P2, just under 0.07 of a second behind.
0.066 seconds to be precise, Nick.
Being precise,
just goes to show, yeah, exactly. It just goes to show how close Checo came. Delivered a mighty second sector, and that was really what put him in contention for that pole position. It's landed Red Bull what is their 27th front row lockout in their history, but would you believe only the third in the last 6 years, which gives you something to think about as to how often Checo has failed to really push Max over these past few years as teammates, considering the quality of that car. Quite remarkable when you look at that, because as we all know, the RB19 last year was the beast to beat, certainly at the hands of Max. Checo really struggled. He's had a solid start to this season, quite solid start. Not quite got close to Max, but finally today he admitted himself in the press conference that his confidence is starting to now build with that RB20. And if that's a sign of things to come today, and we can only hope it is, because we'd like to see a good intra-team battle between the two, then fingers crossed we're going to get a decent race, first of all, tomorrow between the pair of them. Hopefully there might be some action from behind that they can be challenged from behind. But as I say, if that's a platform for Checo going forward, then fingers crossed, as I say, we're going to see something more from him over the next few races, because he now has to build on that. He's done it today. Yeah. He's proven to himself he can get that close. Now we want to see more of it. That it's not just a one-off from him. He's got to now continue to deliver.
Do you think Sergio will be allowed to take the fight to Max, or could we see potentially some team orders, given that Lando Norris in P3 just over 2 attempts behind and by far the best of the rest? Do you think they might almost use Perez as a rear gunner almost, because we've seen in the past, particularly the British Grand Prix last season, Lando can cause trouble if he gets to the front?
You'd hope not, Nick, because it's just too early in the season. This is only the 4th race out of 24. So, Max's DNF in the last race has obviously closed up the field behind him in terms of the points in the drivers' championship. So, for me, why impose team orders this early in the season? It wouldn't make sense. Yes, of course, we know Max is effectively the number one, has been for a long, long time. Checo just hasn't really done enough to thrust himself into that position. Good start to last season, fell away, as we all know. That's why I documented now. But you've got to hope that, as I say, maybe this is the platform for him now to really do something. He's got to hope within himself that it is as well, because he's been the number 2 for far too long. So, as I say, I would hope that Red Bull don't do that this early. It's too early for me, that's for sure.
Do you see Lando Norris taking the fight to them tomorrow? Because he was P3, so by far best of the rest, because Ferrari could only manage 4th and 8th. Mercedes, who we spoke highly of yesterday, were then disappointing today, even though Lewis is quite happy with P7, George was P9. Is Red Bull's only threat tomorrow Lando Norris?
I think we can throw Carlos into that mix as well. I don't think P4, he's P4 for nothing. He's coming off the back of a fantastic result in Australia.
I mean, even fantastic's a bit of an understatement, to be honest. 16 days after surgery, come on.
Solid result. I don't know where we got that one from. Sorry, folks. Sometimes you have these moments on air. No, an absolutely brilliant result in Australia. But the way it's looking, I would suggest Lando, he himself admitted in the press conference afterwards that realistically, he does not have what it takes to challenge the Red Bulls. He'd like to think that he could go at it with Max, as was the case last year into turn 1, side by side, as he mentioned. didn't come right for him that day, as we know. Brilliant second place, of course, but in terms of actually challenging Max, no, didn't come to fruition. On this occasion, over one lap, the McLaren, and he in particular, has managed to halve the deficit compared to the gap to Max on pole last year. Last year, just over 0.6. This year, just under 0.3. So that's quite a significant inroads that they've made over one lap, in the space of just 7 short months, just under 7 months, compared to, the Japanese Grand Prix was in September last year, late September. So this has been a really good track for everybody overall to get a good handle as to how far they've progressed or otherwise over the intervening period. McLaren, as mentioned, looks like it's made a really solid step over one lap, but Lando does not believe, as much as he would like to hope, does not believe that they can realistically challenge, certainly Max. And as I say, it's looking good for Checo at this particular point to at least grab second spot if he's not going to be positioned to challenge Max himself. But from Lando's perspective, his main objective tomorrow is to simply hold on to the position he's got. He's going to come under threat from, I think, Carlos, certainly. Fernando, those upgrades have worked well on the Aston Martin after they've been placed on the car now going forward. So he's in a good spot. Behind Mercedes, again, suggested that they might have something. And at the end of the day, it's just not come to the fore for them at all. 7th and 9th. They were hoping for far better, I think, coming out of practice yesterday, that's for sure.
But
Lewis
was really positive, though, after qualifying.
Positive, yes, because I think for him, he admitted himself that he's tinkered far too much in trying to get the ultimate setup for the car at each circuit that we've had so far, the 3 previous in Bahrain, Saudi, and Melbourne. And that's obviously what every driver does, but he felt he'd gone too far trying to make setup changes. Here, he's felt that he's got more of a sweet spot. He's taken what he admitted as himself has been a more sensible approach to making these setup changes. And he has got closer. So it's a slight step forward for Mercedes in one respect, that from Lewis's perspective in particular, he finally feels now that he's got a car that he can work with, but it's still not enough to make the inroads that they were hoping. The one positive for Lewis is that for the first time this season, he's out-qualified his teammate.
Yeah.
He'd struggled the previous 3 races, as we'd seen. Okay, it's not much in terms, 7th, 9th. I can't remember the gap, Nick. You might have the details in front of you there as to what that was. But it's a small step forward for Lewis.
Yeah.
And as I say, maybe now he's got something that he can work with, as mentioned, with regarding to making these setup changes and, as I say, taking this more sensible approach that he's talked about.
The thing that's really crazy with Lewis as well is P7 is 104-time. He started on the pole 104 times. P7 is his best qualifying this season. Going on to also one of the bigger talking points of the day in RB, Daniel Ricciardo obviously is under a lot of pressure at the moment. We've spoken it at great length. It looked like he was going to be in Q3, only to be knocked out at the last second by none other than your prediction for a top 10, Yuki Tsunoda. He's done it again.
Yay. Yuki the man, 3 times in a row in the top 10. The first time he's done that since 2021. We're throwing away all the stats there. Here we go. We love a good stat. But yeah, first time in 3 years that he's managed to do that. So that says something about where he is at the moment and at the level he is performing. It was and here we go again. It was 0.055 seconds. That's how much Daniel missed out. Nothing at all. I don't think he has anything to admonish himself over on this occasion. He knew he had to make a step forward. We've talked about it at great length coming into this Grand Prix weekend. And he's done that. Yes, it's not what he ultimately would have wanted. He would have wanted that top 10 position, and most certainly he would have wanted to at least have chalked up his first qualifying improvement over Yuki.
Yeah.
He's not done that, but it was the smallest of margins. And yes, he was beating himself up over the radio, as we heard, quickly picked up by his race engineer and said, look, we've got to look at the positives. And it is a positive. And we've talked about platforms already in this program as to what Lando can do, what Lewis can do. I think this is another platform on which Daniel now has to build going forward, because he needed this. And hopefully he's not going to beat himself too much, because we know how much of a confidence driver he is. We've discussed that as well at length in this program, past programs. So he needs to now look on the bright side and think, okay, I'm that far away. Next time around, I'm going to do it. And of course, he's now going to want to beat his teammate on home soil. And if he can do that on Sunday, that'll be a real feather in his cap. And that will really make him smile, because the Daniel Ricciardo smile has been a little bit missing so far this season.
Well, I think about Yuki tomorrow, that could be a real momentum changer in the RB camp. And it's interesting as well, he came so close to Q3, having actually, effectively missed all of Friday. I know he drove in FP2, but FP2 was a nothingy session. So FP3 was his first dry running of the day. And obviously he gets the new chassis as well for the Chinese Grand Prix in a fortnight. Predictions. Qualifying was difficult to predict given yesterday's running. Max, I think we can probably both say is going to win. Is that fair?
Is this the standard prediction, or do you want a bold prediction?
Well, we're going for obviously the victory prediction and the bold prediction, but you're kind of making me think your bold prediction is going to be regarding the winner. Okay, I'm going to say a Max win, because I think he just looks on it, and it'll be a third consecutive Japanese Grand Prix victory for him, not done since Michael Schumacher. For me,
bold stat of your own there, mate.
It was 2000 to 2002 that Michael won 3 in a row. A bold prediction, I'm going to say Ricciardo to finish in the top 7. Don't know why I'm going for a top 7, but we'll say.
Where's Yuki? Where's Yuki? Does he finish ahead of Yuki? That's the key one.
I think both RBs will be in the points, but Daniel's going to get P7. I think we've got Ferrari, McLaren, Aston Martin, Mercedes, pace-wise, look really, really similar. So there's going to have to be some play with the strategies to try and have that advantage. Because of that, could there be some mistakes? We'll see, especially when you've got, Perez, on the front row of Max. He's going to want to try and get ahead. Lando is going to want to try and get ahead. Who knows? Could we see a first corner accident? But yeah, I think Daniel Ricciardo, top 7. Watch him go and retire now.
That's actually my bold prediction. I think we're going to see another Red Bull retirement,
Oh.
So I'm going Max win. I think it might be in Checo's camp on this occasion, so I'm going to go Max win, but I'm going to go Lando second. That's my one. So a repeat of last year.
Okay, hold on, but P3 then. Okay, so if Checo's going to retire, who's going P3?
P3, I think we'll see Oscar. I think it could be an exact repeat of last year's podium.
I could see
1,
that.
2, 3.
Well,
I think that McLaren is it's a McLaren track. They love it around here. It's clearly got abundance of race pace. We saw it's got good quality pace. I think it's definitely going to be good over the race. And I absolutely can see if Checo doesn't retire, I can definitely see Lando beating Checo to second place. So there you go. Those are my predictions for tomorrow. As for Daniel, I'm just going to simply hope he gets top 10. I'd love to see him in the points. I think further down the grid, it's a bit of a muchness around that mid pack, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
unpredictable, did well. To be honest.
Valtteri did really well. He, to get 7th in Q1, where did that come from? Wow. Starts 13th. So let's go for Valtteri top 10. There you go.
You are just full of predictions today. This is
Let's go for it. Why not? Why not? Valtteri
awesome
top 10.
Stuff. Valtteri P10. For those watching, put your predictions in the comments below. And before I forget, today is your last chance to subscribe to the channel if you want to be included in the merchandise giveaway. The draw will end before the race tomorrow. To be included, you need to be subscribed to the channel. We'll then draw a winner at random, announce it in the podcast. I think that's a good enough explanation. We've explained it in every video this week, so if that explanation was terrible, just go back and check a former video. From myself and Ian, we will see you guys tomorrow. Is Max going to win? See you later.
Enjoy the Japanese Grand Prix, folks.